as painful as it is to be aware of what's happening to animals, I wouldn't. There is no way I would give that up.
Welcome to the Hen Report from our hen house. This is Jasmin Singer.
This is Mariann Sullivan. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving.
Well, the day this is coming out is Thanksgiving. So if you are listening in a timely fashion, it is Thanksgiving.
Before we get to all of the wonderful things we want to discuss today, including a book review that I'm super excited about, and with a very special guest reviewer, just a quick reminder about the Our Hen House podcasts, and we just want to take care of some business first. So we have the Rising Anxieties episode of Our Hen House comes out on Tuesdays, the Hen Report, which is this, on Thursdays, the long form interview on Fridays, and the bonus for Flock members comes out on Monday. This Monday, actually, our bonus content is going to be Mariann and I complaining, and who doesn't want to listen to that?
This is rooted in something we tried to do years and years and years ago. I don't know. We didn't have did we have a podcast at the time?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Oh, I don't know either.
We wanted to do a segment called you can say it. It's
vegan
so
wine.
Good. The vegan wine.
Was it? It might have been the daily vegan wine. I don't remember. But we were just gonna pour wine, but about like vegan related things.
Because everybody wants to hear it. We were talked out of it.
Yeah, our friend was like, "You cannot do that. That would
be awful."
Yeah.
So if you're paying money to support our hen house,
you get to hear us complain.
To hear this thing.
Well, this is
awful.
This is just
we haven't done it yet, so we don't know how awful it is.
No, but this is just going to be a kind of Thanksgiving themed. Like, for example, I was just picking up my dog Murray from the groomer because he's a hair dog, so we have to take him to the groomer. And there were all these people and dogs in the waiting room, and they were just like being cutesy, and they were like, "Oh, that dog wants some turkey." And I just was like, this is so fucked up. Like, what? Like, it's a fucking animal, So we're gonna be.
I seem to remember that the one time we recorded it, which we thought was great, until we had our friend listen to it, and she said it was terrible. Yeah. We laughed a lot. Like we were either really funny, or we thought we were really funny, or we actually were drinking wine, and
right. One of those.
We're not going to be drinking wine for this because we're recording it during the day, and I don't think it's the time in my life to start day drinking. I really don't.
No. I just did a little cocaine and call it a day. Just kidding.
Oh, anyway.
All right, so we are a podcast. We're on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit like wherever you listen. So just a couple other things, and hang in there because we have a really great show. So I don't want you to go away. We know that this is it's a difficult time of year for a lot of people. And especially those of us who care about animals. Like, we just made light of that story I just said, but obviously there's something really deep and
well, that's what we do.
Off-putting and disorienting about it. We're just so grateful that we have you and that you have us. We're in this community of like-minded people around the world together, and we hope that our podcasts and our resources continue to provide you with solace and encouragement, especially if you're listening today on Thanksgiving and you're on your way to some horrible, oppressive family
you might be on your way to a
vegan
event. Thanksgiving, which congratulations.
In which case, why didn't you invite me? Whatever, it's fine. I'll get over it. And so since Thanksgiving is really centered around gratitude, we really didn't want to miss this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation for you, because you're it, your dedication is what keeps us going, and we couldn't do this work to change the world for animals without you. And thank you, because thanks to your support, it's been a real growth and momentum, filled year for our hen house since launching our new podcast format over the summer with 3 episodes each week plus bonus. Our reach has expanded dramatically. We have over 28,000 watches and listens across our revived YouTube channel and podcast platform just last month. And in total, we have released 874 episodes of our flagship
since
podcast.
The very beginning, not this month.
And 125 of the Animal Law podcast. And that has collectively reached 3.2 million
I don't even
listeners.
understand how that could be true. Are we sure that's true? Because that's
sure.
Really amazing.
It is amazing. 3.2 million listeners
Oh,
worldwide, and
listens. It must be listens.
your partnership with this helps to make it all possible, and it really means a lot to us. So thank you. And as is our Thanksgiving tradition, we were able to re-air radio radio play, Sanctuary, which we recorded in 2017 in New York City when we performed it on stage. It is by John Yunker, and we did put that up this week. So if you haven't listened to it, or if you enjoy
It's
listening,
good.
yeah, it's so great. And John and Midge Raymond is John's partner in life and in business. John and Midge have a new book coming out this year. It's called Animal Rights: Prompts and Practices to Guide the Animal Writer's Journey.
Animal rights, WRITES.
Yeah. And so in Animal Rights, this is how they describe it. You'll learn tips for how to portray animals empathically and authentically, as well as how to approach publishing and your readers. And John and Midge are two of my faves. I love their brains. They're going to be joining us on Friday, December 5th to talk about it. That's our flock first Friday meeting. So if you're a member of our flock, you can join us for the live
And
interview and the Q&A
I just
afterward.
think portraying animals in books is incredibly hard. You
It
know,
is.
you either humanize them or you just write about them and you don't really
Mm-hmm.
bring that. It's very, very hard. And interestingly enough, our book review today is tackling that
Yeah.
exact question. I have not read the book yet, and I'm really eager to
Mm-hmm.
find out more about it because
And
I hear it's really good.
And speaking of John Yunker, John wrote a short stage play about the disturbing tradition of the annual quote unquote pardon of the turkey tradition at the White House, which I know makes you insane, Mariann.
Totally.
And
I
this year,
actually spoke about it
I
on
know.
Rising Anxieties this week, and not the White House. I don't even know whether they did it at the White House, uh, but in all these state state
Mhm.
governors doing it
Right.
too. Like it's just going
Ew.
on. I think I actually might
Disgusting.
have heard that the White House had two turkeys and they only pardoned one of them. I might have made that up.
Cool. Well, this year, John Yunker decided to create an animated version of the stage play, and we are linking to it in the show notes. And he's hoping it will get people thinking about the underlying cruelty behind Thanksgiving, and so please feel free to check it out in the show notes and share it with your non-vegan friends. It is the season not only for giving but also for advocating, isn't it? I mean, there's just so many opportunities for us. And one opportunity for our hen house is Giving Tuesday, which is coming up this Tuesday, December 2nd. As you probably already know, Giving Tuesday is a very important day for nonprofits like our hen house because it's like a global generosity movement, and it comes right after the largest consumer purchasing day of the year, I think, or one of the largest, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So we hope you'll join us this year by making a tax-deductible donation for Giving Tuesday. Just visit ourhenhouse.org/support and you can help us there. And we do appreciate any amount, any contribution. But the coolest thing is that between now and the end of the year, all donations will be tripled because of this end of year fundraising match that we're in right now. And if we meet our goal of raising $20,000 by the end of the year, which is what we hope you'll help us with, then we get triple that, which is amazing. So if you're not part of our flock community yet, this is the best time to join. I think the vast majority of our flock, especially the annual recurring donors, join around this time of year. Membership options with perks start at $10 a month or $100 a year. We have not increased that in a very long time.
And don't
And
forget that one of those perks is to get to hear
yeah,
Jasmin and I whine.
wine. Yeah, perfect. And you could also
Who could possibly turn that down?
And you could also join as a supporter for $5 a month, but any donation is greatly appreciated, and all of them are tax deductible. So again, it's ourhenhouse.org/support, and we will send a reminder email on Giving Tuesday. So thank you so much for listening to that. I know it's like a spiel, but it's a really important one, and I'm Appreciative of you. Speaking of appreciative, I wanted to tell you about something, Mariann, and I haven't told you any of this yet, so this is all gonna be fresh news to you. I feel like I had a little bit of a revelation in the last week. I genuinely do. Like, don't make fun of me too much because
I
this
won't make
feels
fun of you at
vulnerable.
all.
Okay. So,
Maybe.
okay.
I don't want to promise too much, but I doubt I will make fun of you.
All right. So the end of the story, I'm just going to tell you the end of the story and then I'm going to go back. The end of the story is that like I feel like I have sort of turned over a new leaf. Like I feel like I want to go about my relationship to my life differently. I really want to hold things more lightly and focus on the things that really, really matter and not live in so much fear of what could be. And, I'm a human being, so it's gonna wax and wane as it does. But I wanted to tell you how I got to that because there's a vegan connection here. There is a poet who I've been following for years, whose name is Andrea Gibson. I think a lot of people. I'm just gonna guess that 50% of the people listening to this know who know who Andrea is. Andrea goes by went by they them pronouns. Andrea passed away in very very recently at 49 years old of a very aggressive form of cancer, and and there is a new documentary about Andrea, and it's called "Come See Me in the Good Light," and it's on Apple TV. And I think it's like incredibly popular. I think it's like the number one movie right now, or maybe it's the number one documentary on Apple TV. And I watched it, and one of the producers of it was Tig Notaro, who I adore and who I've gotten to interview, and who's vegan, and I just like I adore Tig Notaro so much. And this
And she's
film,
I mean, does everybody know who Tig Notaro is? I don't know,
stand-up
but
comedian,
right.
brilliant, actor, producer, just an amazing creator, just truly amazing. And so Tig was one of the producers on this film, and Tig was a really longtime friend of Andrea Gibson. And so my best friend Erica was also watching this documentary, and there's this really sweet scene in the documentary where Andrea's like rescuing a spider. And I would have just watched that and been like, "Oh, cute," but Erica Googled whether Andrea was vegan, which I'm like, okay, that would never have occurred to me to Google it in that moment. But apparently Andrea was vegan, and like in Animal Rights vegan,
And
and
as is Tig.
as is Tig. And this was not just so that we're clear, that was not explicitly brought up in the documentary. But I'm like, oh my god, I followed this poet for like I love Andrea's work. Andrea was like, a lesbian, and the film is really about Andrea and their partner Meg, who's also a poet. And it was just about like kind of the end of Andrea's life and like coming to terms with death. And I know I'm making it sound really heavy, and you will cry, but it's probably the most hopeful, beautiful, powerful documentary, including hilarious. Like there's this one scene in it that is so funny. I think it's the funniest scene I've ever seen in any documentary. I'm gonna just leave that there as a little vegan Easter egg for you to find, because I don't want to say any more about it, that part. But anyway, so after the documentary was over, and like Andrea's whole thing was like, I can't believe I got to live this fantastic life. And like this was a person who really struggled too. And but they were like, I can't believe that this is the life I get to live. And they said something like, and I'm ruining it, but it was something like, when I die, I want my last thought to be, if I could just have like millions of more seconds like this, like just in this life. And it was kind of about like becoming friends with death in a way. And obviously it was also really tragic and devastating. But Andrea just really focused on having people around, like the loved ones. And then something funny to me, Mariann, is that when Andrea died at the end, it was in the like bedroom with them was their wife Meg, their or I don't know if they were married, but their ex and like some close friends and their parents. I was like, oh my god, like do you get? I think maybe two exes were in there. I was like, okay, this is a lesbian love story, clearly. But anyway, so So I was very moved afterwards, and then I listened to Tig Notaro be interviewed by Anderson Cooper, who has a podcast about grief, which is really fascinating, and something about listening to Tig talk about Andrea. I don't know if it was Tig that changed me or if it was the documentary or if it was, like, listening to Tig, who was one of the people in the room when Andrea died, like, just, like, restating how, like, Andrea's death really inspired her to Tig to go about her life in a much more intentional, powerful way of, like, focusing on what matters and, like, kind of recognizing, like, death doesn't have to come up and surprise us. It could be something that we don't have to live our life in fear of, and then I started to think, what would it look like if I didn't live my life in fear of losing people? Because I that's how I, like, exist every second is, like, basically, I'm motivated by the fact that I fear losing the people I love. It's a huge thing for me and for so many other people. And it's just felt really huge. And one of the things that what the big thing that I wanna focus on is how lucky I am to have discovered this authentic truth about animal rights so young, like, sure, not young enough, but the fact that I get to live my life in accordance with my values to me is such a beautiful thing that when I hear people in the dog grooming lobby just being assholes about turkeys, I also think, wow, they don't have this gift yet. And I mean, obviously there's like a little bit of a slippery slope here. Like, is it like pretentious? Do I get to be like, I'm gonna give you this gift? But focusing on the goodness of it, it makes me feel
Yeah.
so happy and
No, I hear
so
you.
much
Totally.
gratitude.
I totally hear you. I I sometimes think like that, but I don't express it quite as well to myself, and I don't remember it all the time. Oddly enough, I don't wanna spend time on this because we need to get along with it. I just read this book called The Blue Castle, which is by the woman who wrote Anne of Green Gables, so it's a very old book, and it was all about how, a very young woman who led a very difficult life and had a very difficult family, mistakenly found out, and I hope I'm not giving spoilers, but that she was going to die, and so she didn't have to be afraid of growing up to be an old maid and being unwanted, and she just did. And when all that fear left, she was able to do so much more
Wow,
wonderful
that's
things with
so
her life.
cool.
Fear is, yeah, I wish I could let go of it more. I think I think it's useful. Fear is useful.
Sure. And
Like,
and there
the world is a dangerous place, and I think it just probably, we inherit it. It's something that has protected us, and so it's
yeah.
born in us. But yeah, letting it go really helps.
Yeah, I'm not, and I don't wanna be, like, gaslighting even myself here, like, you're totally right. And just, like, last kind of point here is that I love that this revelation came from 2 vegans. Like, to me, that's not a coincidence. To me, the fact that, like, these 2 human beings, Tig and Andrea, like, both of whom were integral to this change that I'm feeling, had also found this great truth about veganism and animal rights and
Yeah,
authenticity that it's like, of course, something so profound came from
yeah.
that.
I wouldn't. I mean, as painful as it is, and everybody listening to this knows how painful it is to be aware of what's happening to animals. I wouldn't. There is no way I would give that up.
Right. Well, we have a couple other things to,
All right, I'm
be
just going to
grateful
go through
for.
these. Vicky has yelled at us that this is supposed to be 20 to 30 minutes. We're almost at the 20-minute mark. And she hasn't even come on yet. But I do have news stories. I put them together.
Okay,
I'm going to go through them really fast
do it.
because they're all about things we should be giving thanks for. One of the things we should be giving thanks for is Animal Rising in the UK. We've been talking about it. They've had this series of prosecutions of activists who disrupted the Grand National horse race, which every year horses are injured and die in it. And they've had, I think, three of the um, of the trials, and in every one of them, the juries have refused to convict the activists, and now they're going to drop the other trials. They're just not going to bother to go
Wow.
forward with them.
Wow.
Also about Animal Rising, I just wanted to mention they have another project coming up. The 20 beagle rescuers from an animal testing facility are facing charges of burglary, and so they'll
Mm.
be going through this whole process again of going through these trials, and hopefully, we're so sad about what happened to Zoe Rosenberg in a very similar kind of situation, which we've talked about before here in California and or there in California, and it's so great to hear of this happening in the UK.
By the
So
way,
that made me
did
very happy.
did you see that Joaquin Phoenix has come out in public support of
I did
Zoe?
not see that. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised, but I'm thrilled. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me
Because,
too.
one of the painful things about it is that it just doesn't get enough attention. I mean,
Mhm.
it's outrageous that it's not front page news. Anyway, moving on. Another thing for us to be thankful for is the foods. I mean, the foods keep barreling along in spite of the fact that, we all the press we hear is bad. They're not stopping. And one of the most amazing one is this story from Ag Thunder News. The Every Company raises $55 million to scale egg proteins via fermentation, crosses line from promise to proof. And this is a company. They're starting their sales in Europe, but they hope to be coming to the U.S. Shortly. But you're not going to be buying their stuff. They're selling egg egg powder or fermented egg powder, not made from anything out of a chicken, um, to bakers and other people who eggs are enormous, enormous products. So it's not shell eggs or liquid eggs. It's powdered eggs that will take the place of enormous numbers of liquid eggs that are being used. Even though this is powder, they'll be able to take the place of liquid. It's going to be so much cheaper for everybody. I mean, they're not there yet. They're not they're at price parity for high end products, but the potential is enormous because the egg industry screwed everybody who buys from them by like falling to pieces and having avian flu, and they're just gonna I think they're gonna clean up.
Wow, that
All
is
right.
so cool.
Super
That's
Meat
awesome.
secures 3.5 million, not exactly 55 million, but still good, to accelerate European launch after hitting cost parity on cultivated chicken. Cost parity. That is, big. Again, for high end chicken products, but they're doing a commercial rollout of this cultivated
Wow.
chicken in Europe, and it's 100% cell based, so it's not one of these mixed products,
Mhm.
and they reported that they could produce 100% cultivated chicken at approximately 11.79 per pound at scale, which is the price of apparently expensive chicken. Who knows? And so they this is gross, but the achievement was based on a production process comprising 85% muscle and 15% fat without blending plant-based ingredients to reduce costs. So it's pure cell-based. A life cycle analysis conducted, blah, 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 says it could deliver roughly 50% fewer carbon emissions than conventionally raised farm chicken. And they're the company that'll be launching in the US in 2026.
We're
So
almost there.
things are gonna shift. Things are going to shift. There's people out there working on this. All right, we have talked before about this product, and I just wanted from plant-based news, this vegan microbial protein made from air and electricity could go to space. This is a Finnish company. It's called Solar Foods. They're now testing it to go into space. I don't know why they need to be going into space, but yeah, it's made out of air. I swear.
This
I
is like an SNL skit.
I know. Um, it's made from it is Solein itself is a single cell alternative protein made by extracting carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and then combining it with hydrogen minerals and vitamins. And the process is powered by renewable energy, and the protein has been tested in ice cream, meat, and noodles. Those fins, I'll tell you, there's no
Wow.
stopping them.
That is that's bananas.
That's amazing. I mean, if we can just hold on to the planet and not ruin it, in 100 years you'll all just be eating air. Apparently,
Go
that's how it's going to go. All right, so giving thanks for that, and finally, I wanted to give a little thanks for turkeys. And I was reminded to do this by this post from Friends of Animals, who just posted a bunch of interesting facts about wild turkeys. about their innate skills and mental prowess, and they can outsmart natural predators such as foxes, coyotes, and raccoons. And of course, famously, Benjamin Franklin thought turkeys were so smart that he wanted them to be the national bird rather than the eagle. Um, that's not in here. But I didn't make it up. I swear. Their vision is 3 times more clear than 2020, and they have a 270-degree field of vision. An adult turkey has 5 to 6,000 feathers. Unbelievable.
Wow,
They're
that is
fiercely protective parents. They will do anything to keep their babies safe. The young turkeys eat insects and ticks. I don't know, I know there are people out there who are tick welfare people. Oh, I want to be, but it's hard. Um, but if ticks have to die, you got to admit the best thing for them to do is to be eaten by turkeys. The turkey flocks contain complex hierarchies. They're very tight knit. The bonds they create can sometimes last their entire lives, and they do not like to be separated from their community. They're actually good flyers, even though people make fun of them for not being able to fly. But we're talking about wild turkeys, not turkeys who have been genetically manipulated to be ill. And of course, they can't fly far, but in short bursts, they can fly up to 55 to 60 miles an hour. And also, they roost in trees at night to avoid predators, which reminded me of that time we were at that sanctuary in Vermont, which I can't remember the name of.
Vine
Vine
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary. And it wasn't turkeys, it was chickens, but they mentioned that even in the middle of winter, they will go up in the high up in the trees to sleep because that's where they like to sleep and they like to be free.
Yeah, I
Even though
mean, of
they
course
had a
they
lovely
do.
barn to sleep in,
Yeah,
that they had access to, but they like sleeping up in the trees.
like to sleep in it. Well, thank you. I enjoyed that. I really
Good.
did. Something
Now
else we're grateful
let's move
for.
on. Let's move on.
Yeah, so our producer Vicky Beechler is going to be doing a review of The Tortoise's Tale by Kendra Coulter. And Kendra has actually been on the podcast before on episode 738 talking about her prior book, Defending Animals. And I love Kendra. I love her brain. I love her creativity. I'm so excited about reading this book. I don't have time yet because of the play that I'm in that opens next week. So, and we didn't want to wait because the book's coming out. And so Vicky very eagerly volunteered to read it first, and she's going to be chatting with us about it. Welcome to the Hen Report, Vicky.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Can I just say I mean, I don't know if this is like a weird thing to say, but like your eyeliner game today is like amazing.
Thank you.
I am seriously envious of it. Like it's beautiful. And if you're listening to this on the
Thank
audio,
you.
you have to go look at the YouTube just to look at Vicky's makeup. But you're not here to talk about your makeup, although you could because
Jasmin.
what?
No, we're not talking about
Didn't you
makeup.
go like didn't you go to like beauty school or
I did, yeah, I was a cosmetologist for like 17
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
years.
there you go.
I mean, it shows like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. All right. But you're here today to talk about The Tortoise's Tale by Kendra Coulter. And we already mentioned that Kendra had been on the podcast before. And I'm dying to read this book. I was just like honest that I haven't had a chance yet. But tell us about this because this is, what we are most passionate about, which is getting animals into the arts in any way, shape, or form. And in this way, it's in fiction.
Yes, and it is magnificently done. I love this book so much. I did realize that I have the advance proof that we got from Kendra. I don't know if anything changed
Oh,
in the final,
I don't
but
think
I
it.
doubt it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
So
usually just like typos and stuff.
yeah.
I'm gonna try not to spoil it anyway, but I really, really loved it. I will admit, I started it on the flight to London and I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be too sad and I don't I don't want to make myself sad before my trip." Uh, but then I read it on the flight back and it was so good. I just didn't put it down the whole time. I read it straight through as soon as I
What
started.
was it
So
sad?
so it's about captivity, you know. So like I got through the first little bit and I was like, "Oh no." You know, cuz in the beginning the tortoise is kidnapped from the wild. So um and I just got nervous.
So the book is written from the point of view of the tortoise?
Yes, the tortoise tells the tale. And in fact, there's a part where talking about storytelling, and the tortoise, who has several names throughout the book because the different people call her by different names. At this point in the book, she's called Magic by a little girl named Lucy, and Lucy is someone is reading her Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and Magic is listening, and Lucy and Magic both end up being horrified by the mock turtle, by the song that the mock turtle is being asked to sing a song about being eaten. And
Wow.
and in that scene, Magic reflects. Magic says, "I believe this was when I first realized there needed to be better stories about tortoises told by
Oh gosh,
tortoises."
that's so cute. By the way,
Yeah, yeah.
I just put a hold on the audio version at my library just now. I'm so excited
So
to
Oh,
I
there's an
and
audio.
I'm going to also purchase a copy because I wanna support vegan authors and stories like this, but I'm
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
excited about listening to the audio, so
Me too. I want to listen to it now.
yeah, yeah.
It's
What were
so
you going to say,
hard. We
Mariann?
were talking before about how hard it is to pull this off, to write a book from the point of view of an animal. Was there anything in particular that she did that she managed to pull it off about? And we're talking about someone reading who was not going to let her get away with anything. I mean, you would have pretty
Right.
high standards in representing an animal, but you still loved it.
Yes, it's true. I don't know that I can pinpoint what it is. I suppose that it's enough, it's giving the tortoise perspective and giving her a personality and a point of view that is believably a tortoise's point of view.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like inserting human thought and everything sort of into what's happening so much that you're like, "Ugh,"
You
you know,
mhm.
like this doesn't feel like a tortoise. But yeah, she fully pulled it off. And she also fully pulled off inserting vegan perspectives into this novel without like bashing you over the head with it. So I really hope a lot of people read this book and like come away with a different perspective.
You mentioned a little bit about the plot, but I just want to go back to that so that I can understand it a little better. Like you mentioned
Mhm.
that the tortoise is kind of going to various different homes. Like what's the main point of the book? What's the main drive
So
forward?
the tortoise never leaves the home.
Oh,
The tortoise is a decorative fixture on an estate. So she is shuffled between people, not between homes. Does that make
Yeah,
yeah.
sense?
totally.
So so part of the sort of theme, one of the themes of the book is like loss and change over the long life of the tortoise. So the book covers like a century of human society. The tortoise has lived a very long life. So it goes from the kidnapping as a tiny tortoise. Then she lives on this estate, and the estate keeps changing hands. So that's like basically the story, I would say, with the theme of this long life, sort of finding joy in small things, and then change and loss,
Mhm.
with captivity mixed into that, and sort of the horrors of captivity. Because the tortoise is not the only decorative animal on this estate. There's plenty. They have exotic birds in huge cages, and in fact, one of my favorite reflections from Magic is about captivity. She says how people decided what to do and not to do with animals, even those who were very similar, was a mystery. And I just love that thought from her, because she's watching the wild birds land on the cages of the caged birds, and she's thinking about captivity. And I wonder that myself all the time.
Well,
So
and I mean, I know
Yeah.
you haven't yet heard the beginning of today's episode, but I was
right.
basically talking about picking up my dog Murray from the groomer and all of these cute dogs there, and how the people were talking about how the dog can't wait to eat turkey, and it's just it reminds me so much of what you're saying. It's just like I love it being explicitly stated that way, of like why
But
this and not
yeah,
that.
explicit but
Hmm.
relatively gentle, because all of us think these things all the time, but the trick is being able to express it in a way that somebody reading it who's not there yet would hear it, but it wouldn't be yelling at them.
Yes,
Sounds like she pulls
exactly.
that off.
And in a not relating it to animals that people might feel more attached to, as in the ones they eat.
Right.
Like
Right.
most people, I mean, a lot of people do have caged birds, but most people don't. That's like a small. So thinking about it with birds, especially, because if you keep going, you can maybe think about chickens and turkeys. But yeah, while it's just those little things where people aren't so attached to them that it's easier for them to have those kind of
But
thoughts.
hopefully you hope you've gotten a little worm in into their
Yeah,
brains to give
exactly.
birth to like maybe a bigger thought.
Exactly. She does get a lot more like vegan-y kind of stuff in as well. The Lucy character is a vegetarian as a child, and it's like the 1950s when she's a child. So and then when she gets older, she actually starts a plant-based company. It's not like huge part of the story, but it's there.
Right.
That's
It's
perfect. I
mhm,
mean, I think if you make it too
exactly.
much of the story, it shuts people down.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
just so people
Sorry.
know, this is Simon and Schuster publishing this. So like to get anything like this published by a major publisher, I can tell you it's it's pretty much unheard of. So yeah,
Mhm.
what do you think the appeal, what do you think the mainstream appeal is for this book? Because we're all looking at this very much from a vegan, perspective, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, it's just a beautiful story. It's, a beautiful fiction story. And I think putting that century worth of human society, will make it a little bit more
Yeah.
interesting for people that aren't just interested in the tortoise. Like, she goes through jazz and oh, I forgot to mention that she's a music lover, the
Oh,
turtle.
cute.
So she like loves to wander over by the stage when there are parties at the estate.
Hmm.
So she goes through all these different types of music. She doesn't like love rock and roll so much, but but she goes through it. um I think having the human story there also, you know
Mhm.
that's what people really want. But this woman's story, Lucy, is told by this tortoise, and so she's telling her story and Lucy's story at the same
Yeah,
time,
that's
if that makes
smart.
sense.
That's really
Yeah.
smart because people do want to hear stories about people. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
makes it so hard to write, from an animal's point of view or to
Mhm.
write about animals. It's like even people who really love animals. I mean, we're just different, and it's hard to do that in writing. So that makes so much sense that the tortoise is telling Lucy's story.
It
It,
also
and
Yeah.
also her own. Like that can
Mhm.
really pull people in.
And if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, after The Octopus Teacher came out, there was a real sort of societal obsession with like the one animal and the one species of animal. I remember because I was talent scouting for my literary agent at the time, and there were other books sold and other films picked up right after The Octopus Teacher. And if I'm not mistaken, the timing is right here too, uh for when Kendra probably sold this book. And it was like, I could be wrong, but like the tortoise, like it was about this particular one. But of course Kendra, who is just a brilliant mind, and also started the world's first major in animal ethics and sustainability leadership, at Huron, I don't know how to say it, University.
I think it's
Huron University College in Canada.
Like Lake Huron.
Yeah, and so she started that. So like obviously everything she does is going to have that like vegan edge and that like, you know, advocacy edge. And do you think, Vicky, that people will notice it? Like, will they feel like, hey, someone is proselytizing, or will they just feel like this is a great story?
I don't think they'll feel like someone is proselytizing. Will they notice it is always a really difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you guys have seen Wicked yet, the second part.
Well, we've seen it. We've seen it on Broadway a few times.
Like we're the only two people.
Yeah, but I mean
not the movie, not the second half, not yet.
Yeah. I don't think people are noticing even when it's like right in front of their freaking face. Like one of my really good friends, she said that when she saw Oakjaw in the theater, she was sobbing, snot, you know, the whole bit. And when she was leaving the theater, people were laughing. Like they thought it was funny. And so I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think people will feel that they're being bashed over the head, but whether they'll notice it or not, I don't know. You know, I'm trying to be positive here, but
no, I get it. There's going to be someone. I mean, someone's going to be changed from this. Like,
yeah, well, that's all of activism. Like, we're never going to come up with the thing that reaches everybody, but each thing.
It's true.
And you know, we just don't have that many books like this really that are really well written. You know, not well written for a vegan book, but well written for a book.
Well written.
And you know, that really can draw people in. So some people will be reached by it, and you know, and maybe, you know, like I said, maybe it'll plant a brainworm. Isn't it RFK Jr. who actually has a worm in his brain? Maybe I should stop using that analogy.
Also, you said,
but it'll do. I think it's just. I'm so happy that she did this, and I'm sure it was very like unbelievable amount of work, and I think it's amazing activism, and also apparently a great book.
And you just said can draw people in, and for like 20 seconds I thought you said Kendra people in, and I was like, what did she say?
Kendra can draw.
That's funny.
So Vicky, like tell us like any final thoughts on this and why people should pick it up.
People should pick it up because it's absolutely a wonderful story. I mean, I don't remember the last time I read a book from start to finish. And I know I was on a flight, but it was a really long flight, and I could have had a lot of other things I could have done.
You mean from start to finish in one sitting? Because I know you read books all the time.
Yeah, sorry. I meant like I picked up the book, I started it, and by the time I put it down, I was done.
Such a gift. I mean, that is just, and I just like I as an author, I would just be so happy if someone ever did that with something of mine. Like what a testament to Kendra's ability to really grab you.
I mean, I know this wouldn't be perfect for everybody, but it does sound like the kind of book that you could kind of slip in as a gift. And it is the season, and it just came out, and you know, I just really thought, because it's not a book called How to Go Vegan, which, you know, people are not going to appreciate getting. It could really be like a subtle.
I kind of wrote the How to Go
subtle
Vegan
way to
book.
reach people.
I don't think anyone really read my book in one sitting, but I digress. It's okay.
The last thing that I will say is early on in the book, one of she's not yet been called Magic. Her name at the time is Daisuke. The gardener has named her Daisuke, and she reflects about him that it's the first time a person saw me and understood that I am someone.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to end this. Vicky, thank you so much for being here, for talking about it, for reading it. I know you were like, this isn't work for me, but we're really glad to have your perspective. And just hang out for another second, because we're just going to close things out here.
Wait, before we go, I just wanted to mention that everyone needs to go to google.com and look at the search homepage, because the Thanksgiving mascot is Tiny Chef.
No way. Oh my God. Tiny.
Vegan Thanksgiving on
google.com. Vegan Thanksgiving?
What?
Yeah,
Everyone's going to have a vegan Thanksgiving? Come on. This is so exciting. Tiny Chef is my favorite person ever who's been on the podcast. No offense, Vicky, but I mean, come on.
None taken. He's also my favorite.
Thanks for letting us know. Google.com.
It's odd that all of our favorite person is not actually human. Something going on there.
On that note, we already talked all about Giving Tuesday and all of our Thanksgiving, programs and opportunities for people to get involved. Mariann, tomorrow's interview, why don't you briefly talk about that?
Yeah, this is the week of the month that we do the Animal Law Podcast interview, and I interview our friend who you've probably seen before on the podcast or heard before on the podcast, Michael Dorff, who teaches con law. He's like very fancy professor at Cornell Law School. And he just taught a course, which I think he's the only one who's taught this particular course on animals in the Constitution. And we kind of broke it down and talked about like how he approached it. It was a great conversation.
That's very cool. I can't wait to hear that. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you join us now to become a Flock member before the end of the year, because every dollar you donate will be tripled. So become a Flock member, get involved at ourhenhouse.org/support. Thank you to Vicki and to Jen Riley. Vicki not only is the person behind today's incredible review, but is also the magic behind this mayhem. So we really appreciate all the work you do, Vicki, in producing Our Hen House and keeping us going. So we appreciate you too if you're listening, and happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.